Hey guys, I'm here. Last night I went and saw Fast 10, Fast X, whatever you want to call it, the 10th entry in the Fast Saga. And I gotta say, as a longtime fan of this franchise, I feel like this kind of set things back on course a little bit. And not that it was really off course, I just wasn't as invested in the last two entries of this saga as I was previously. And I think like bringing this back around to directly tying it into the events of Fast 5, I think really helps with this. I kind of ground it and kind of give it this kind of like culmination effect from everything that we've experienced up until this point. And it's a lot of fun, man. Like, I don't go into these movies expecting like high cinema or anything like this. They deliver on exactly what they're here to deliver on. And it's just this fun popcorn blockbuster ride. And I enjoyed pretty much every second of this film, man. It's almost nonstop from the get-go as we kind of lead into this. And something that I've come to realize over the last couple of entries is that this movie series at this point is very much so basically an anime. Specifically a shonen anime, with Dominic being our protagonist who makes friends everywhere he goes through the power of friendship and family. And I like it. I don't know why. It's just like once that realization set in, a lot of it just kind of starts to click a little bit better. And also, somebody pointed this out on Twitter that I think is also helps kind of ground things a little bit on the mindset that goes into these movies, because Vin Diesel is a huge D&D player. And when you think about these characters in that kind of way, a lot of the craziness kind of makes sense. It's just like sometimes the roll of the dice are just so good, the unthinkable just happens and just works. And that's kind of what happens in this movie. Oddly enough, it keeps kind of everything, I don't want to say at the same level, because I don't feel like it breaks the rules of reality as much as the last film did. Like, this is still pushing the boundaries quite a lot as to what is real and attainable in our world, and that's fine. In a sense of that, from where we were in the last entry, I feel like it does kind of reel itself back in, but thanks to Jason Momoa and his performance, it doesn't really feel like any of that energy is lost. It doesn't feel like we're bringing things back in, telling Vin Diesel and his gang to cool down. It's just the action, the stunts, and the things that they kind of go through throughout the movie, while still ridiculous by any stretch of the imagination, is way more grounded than it was. And it makes the action feel way more intense. It makes it feel like there are actual like harder stakes. And Jason Momoa is this character that brings this energy to the franchise. Is very much needed, I think, at this point. He's a very different villain than we've had at all previously up until this point in the franchise. And he is just so much fun to watch. And honestly, I gotta say, I think he steals every scene that he is in, especially playing off of the cold, hard, big lovable bear that Vin Diesel is. He's very stoic. He takes all of this so seriously. And then you have Jason Momoa, who's coming in here with this borderline like Jokerish energy behind it. Very much this kind of wild card. You really can't predict what he's going to do kind of attitude. And he's just so much fun to play off of Dom and his team. He's almost kind of an audience vehicle, because he is this guy who's been observing Dom ever since the events of Fast 5, where he lost everything. So in a way, he makes a lot of the same observations and realizations that the audience has made of the franchise over the years of Dom and his teams and their exploits. And it doesn't cross this line of becoming like fourth wall breaking, but it does become a little self-aware and meta, to the where it just lets me know that they know exactly what movie they are making. And even when he's fun and quippy and all this stuff, he never feels like he is not a threat. Like, at any time he's being playful or he's joking around or anything like that, or, giving us a little bit of levity, at any moment you always have this sense of somebody might die in this scene. I think he's the highlight of this film. Honestly, the two standouts in this movie for me is him and John Cena, who I did really enjoy in the last film, and he's becoming an actor who's really starting to evolve in his own right, and I love what they did with him in here. Again, bringing him in the fold, keeping up the trend, and even though he is directly family, being Dom's brother and all that, keeping in trend with kind of reeling in our past villains into the fold. We see Charlize Theron also making a return in this. Obviously, Shaw comes back. We've got a bunch of faces all throughout the franchise making their little pop-ups here and there, be like, hey, don't forget about us. We got a couple of newcomers in here like Brie Larson, Jason Momoa, Alan Ritchson, who honestly I kind of wish we had a little bit more screen time with, because he doesn't get nearly as much time to kind of chew the scenery or share a lot of scene work with other people as I would like, because he is very charismatic and I want to see more of him. But I feel like, again, because this is setting up another film, I think we will get more of that in the next entry, I would imagine. Also, we have Danielle Melchior in here, who has also kind of been injected into this as well. While Dom is center stage in this, and a couple other characters definitely have their highlight, it feels like the rest of the team, or at least the bulk of the team, is kind of just sidelined for most of the movie, and just given a couple little moments here and there, which honestly don't really move things forward much, if at all. There are some seasons that I really do feel like probably could have been cut because they really didn't get us anywhere. There's one scene in particular which literally just didn't need to be the movie at all. It doesn't set anything up, it doesn't do anything, it doesn't achieve or get us anywhere, and we could have just cut it out and went straight to where we ended up in the first place. With the cast as large as it is, I understand it's definitely difficult to give everybody their due. I just feel like there are some scenes that probably could have just been cut. Maybe it's contractual obligations or something of the sort, I don't know, but it's a miracle that everybody even got as much time as they did get in this. Once again, there is a big old Brian O'Connor shaped hole in this film with the absence of Paul Walker. At least in the previous film, they gave a pretty at least okay excuse as to why he wasn't present within the film. In this one, there's like one line that kind of vaguely gets contradicted later that just makes me wonder, okay, so in universe, where's Brian? Where is he? There is that question that keeps coming up, and I'm just wondering if they are going to address it eventually, or give something a little more concrete and grounded. I know they've been talking with the Walker family about how to move that forward or integrate that better into the story, with his brothers, with his family and all that. And who knows, maybe in the next two films we'll get something a little more solid. But it's just like, it's again, it's just kind of an unfortunate thing that this series does have to tackle and deal with. Because this is the setup for what is going to be a trilogy now, instead of a part 1 and part 2, it has now pretty much been confirmed that they are going to be doing 3 parts to this final saga to close out this franchise, assuming they actually commit to that. I'll believe it when we see it. I wholeheartedly expect by the time we get to that third film in this final chapter that we end things out. And they're like, maybe we could get another movie in. Depending on how they end it, of course. But this definitely feels like a really, really long trailer for what is to be the next part of the story, because it just ends. And not like Empire Strikes Back ends, where you kind of had like a beginning, middle, and end. This is like a beginning, middle, and then you're done. The movie just ends. There is a stinger at the end. There are a couple of twists and turns throughout. There is a mid-credit scene that you should definitely stick around for, that I find quite hilarious given the real-world circumstances. But at this point, like, I think we know what we're getting into, and I think it does it really well. The action's great. The action is shot well. I think the CGI needed a little more time here and there. There's a couple of moments where there's some effects that just really were a little wonky in the moment. But the score, the soundtrack, the action, the choreography is great across the board. Like, this is a solid summer blockbuster popcorn action film. And I don't know, if you're not into these films, I don't think this is going to win you over. If you're already into it, this is going to be more of what you've been enjoying. And I got to say, as somebody who's been here from the beginning, I quite enjoyed the film. I liked it more than, it had a lot more heart and energy than I felt like the last one did. But I really like what they brought to the table in this one. And other than it being an incomplete film, I think it holds up pretty well on its own right. And I'm excited to see where they go from here. It was fun, cheesy, goofy, and I'm here for it, man. Like, the one-liners packed throughout this film alone sell you on what this is. So, guys, what'd you think? If you've seen it, sound off the comments. Let me know your thoughts down below. We'll carry on the conversation after the video. I hope you enjoyed this review. If you did, please leave a like, drop a comment, subscribe if you're not already. And before we go, I want to shout out our channel legends: Manny Share, Ryan Karen, Philly Vane, Yori Coruscant, Margaret Grace, Melita, Robert Anguiano, Jeffrey Hale, M. Sephiroth, Jake and Trell, and Tiff. Thank you guys so much for your continued support. That's it for this video, guys. I'll see you all in the next one. Take care, everybody.